You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. Thanks for joining me here today on this part one of our weekend host calls. Looking forward to chatting with our community members all around the world. We have so many people who write in on a weekly basis to ask Cabral. And we also have many more people each and every day writing into CabralSupportGroup.com, which is our free Facebook group that we answer questions on a daily basis for. We're happy to help you however we can and however you need it. Please let us know. We are there for you for sure. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Cabral HouseCalls, this is essentially my opportunity to be able to answer our community's questions each and every weekend. I'm not able to answer direct messages on social media. I'm not able to go through all of the comments on Cabral Support Group. However, when my team has a question of something they haven't seen before or answered, they do bring it to me. So remember, I am answering these questions. Typically, I've answered hundreds and hundreds of questions, and they use those as a template to be able to provide feedback as well. So the weekends, though, those are my time to be able to answer somewhere between 10 and 20 questions per weekend, and we answer them in the order they come in. So, for example, today's first question from Hindy comes in on 9/23, September 23rd. And that puts us about 5 weeks or so behind. So we're not too far behind, but if you asked a question before 9/23, it has been answered. If you asked it after September 23rd, it's still in the queue, and we will get to your question for sure. So without further ado, so we can answer as many questions as possible, let's dive right into those questions. Okay, so Hindy's asking, "Hi, my name is Hindy, and I'm an avid follower of yours and listen to your podcast weekly. Your podcast provide me with a wealth of information pertaining to one's health and well-being. As such, I'm always looking forward to the next podcast. I grew up in New York and was diagnosed with Anorexia Nervosa as an adolescent. Since February 2015, I've been in and out of treatment, weight restoring in treatment, and upon returning home, relapsing. Inpatient treatment provides medical and psychiatric stabilization, limits destructive behaviors, and addresses any underlying issues that may have caused the eating disorder. Throughout the day, I participated in skill-based therapeutic groups and aim to replace my maladaptive behaviors. I process my thoughts, feelings, and matters as they came up individually or as in the community. Additionally, I met with therapists 3 times a week, a given structured meal plan to abide by 6 times a day. I was taught the philosophy that all foods fit. I can eat what I want in as long as it's in moderation. For instance, if I eat a cookie, that's okay as long as my entire intake for the day is not only cookies. I was also taught all foods are equal. Your stomach doesn't have eyes, so whether you eat an apple or a piece of cake, your body will break it down the same way and doesn't know the difference. Yet functional medicine demonstrates the healing power of food. Functional medicine has informed me of the benefits of eating a non-processed whole foods diet and the consequences of diseases that arise when eating the standard American diet. All these messages from eating disorder clinicians and functional medicine practitioners have left me feeling confused and divided. Unfortunately, science is biased, many of the times leaving me with no concrete evidence of who to trust. In addition, the diet industry is a $60 billion industry. As I navigate through my recovery, I vacillate from side to side. All right, let me just make sure. Again, everyone can read these questions over at stephencabral.com/1366 today. I know your podcast is not a direction, but a platform for information about health. Nevertheless, I would like more insight on the outlook of eating disorders through a functional medicine perspective. Hindy. Okay, so it looks like you shared your story, which I'm very appreciative of. Thank you for doing that. And basically, just perspective, and I like that as well. I've actually done a number of shows, house calls on eating disorders, but there's a couple things in there. So we work with many, many women with eating disorders. I would say 10% of our practice. Like, it's not a small number. And we understand that it is about vitamin and mineral deficiencies for sure. Okay, zinc, lowered magnesium, lowered omega-3s, lowered amino acids, all of these things affect the brain. But it's not just that, right? So we don't want to say, okay, it's just deficiencies or just toxicities. Heavy metals can cause mental, emotional-based stress as well. There's also previous trauma that happened, right? So we look at it from every perspective. That's what being an integrative health practitioner is really all about. But I can tell you this, an eating disorder clinician is not going to have the level of study that, let's say, a functional medicine doctor, integrative health practitioner does. It's just, that'd be like saying I have the level of study that they do as an eating disorder clinician. It's not the same. But when it comes to nutrition, I mean, anybody, and you can do the research for yourself. I know that you can in Hindy. I know that you are, for sure, well educated on this topic. I mean, you can do the research. You don't need me to prove it to you. Look up what processed sugar does to your body. Look what processed flour does to your body. Look what food dyes does to children with ADD and ADHD. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that, for sure. So to say that your stomach doesn't have eyes that just shows the ignorance of the statement. And I'm not trying to be mean or rude, but that's just silly, right? I mean, your stomach doesn't have eyes, sure, but your bloodstream certainly knows when you're putting in sugar or cookies or processed food because it spikes your blood sugar. What happens when you spike your blood sugar? Well, you begin to spike insulin levels. What happens when you spike insulin? You create additional inflammation. That inflammation is for sure going to affect fat storage. It's going to affect your neurotransmitters. It's going to affect highs and lows in your mood and blood sugar. It's going to affect a host of other diseases that are all related to inflammation. So be careful, everyone, where you do get your information from. Whenever you hear a silly statement like that, I would just back away slowly. Now, the thing is, though, when you're going through an eating-based disorder, you also don't want to feel ever like you're really depriving yourself, okay? Because there are levels to this. And we simply want to walk everyone up that ladder at the pace that they're ready to move at. We never give people a shove. We just give them a helping hand. We reach down, try to pull up. That's it. But only when the person reaches their hand, they're ready for that next level. So for us, it's just getting people onto a good overall healthy diet. We do smoothies, we do big lunches with all the different things that you want to put in there. We do a nice dinner, brightly colored foods. And those foods then start to make the body feel better, so the brain starts to feel better. But we do say, hey, like if you feel like you're depriving yourself because you can't have some chocolate or a cookie, well, then we do that. But we also use a crowding out approach with really good foods. So, Hindy, thank you for writing in. I certainly understand and I appreciate your story and where you're coming from. It's not uncommon, and I want you to keep it on, that's for sure. So it sounds like you're doing overall great. Just keep moving forward. That's it. Keep walking forward. All right, Marie's up next. Hi, Dr. Brawl. Thanks in advance for your consistently amazing advice. I'm 26, have lots of trouble with my sleep. I've noticed the correlation between going to the gym in the evening and sleeping badly. Unfortunately, due to my schedule, between the hours of 5 p.m. and approximately 7 p.m., while I tend to fall asleep quite well, I'm usually exhausted by always sleeping so badly. Or you're only able to go to the gym between 5 and 7 at night. Got it. You wake up around 5 a.m. and can't go back to sleep. It feels like even before this, didn't get any true deep sleep. Could you explain the biology behind this? I wasn't hydrated enough during my workout. I find that taking ashwagandha has actually worsened it. I know magnesium helps. However, I've been a bit scared taking that. All right. Well, here's what we can do. First, I would recommend you open up those liver pathways. I mean, you're having issues with some supplements. And the brand that you named is a good brand. I'm actually going to remove the brand, but they're a good brand of ashwagandha. So it's not the brand. What we want to do is ideally let's do a 7, 14, or 21 day functional medicine detox, like the Equilibrium Nutrition Detox. Let's do that. Let's go easy on the gym for a week. Why don't we just walk, take it easy, and also use the Ultimate Deep Sleep Protocol, or at least just the products that you can. And remember, just because it's 2 capsules typically of adrenal soothe with dinner, and it's 1 or 2 capsules of full spectrum magnesium, 2 teaspoons of the magnesium citrate, a dropper of the natural calm, like you don't have to do all of them at that dosage. You could do a quarter dropper of the liquid melatonin. You could do 1 capsule of the adrenal soothe. So what we want to do is this: open up those liver pathways, get the body healthier. we also want to I want to look at your levels. So the minimum lab testing I would do is called a starter kit. And that's going to be the complete candida, metabolism, and vitamins test, along with the minerals and metals test. I want to look at what's going on. How depleted highs and lows do you have in terms of calcium, magnesium? Maybe you do better with a CalMag Complete. I won't know that until I see the hair tissue mineral analysis. What if you have low levels of zinc? What if you have levels of B6 and that's why you can't produce enough serotonin so that you can't produce enough melatonin? Or is this just too much spiking of adrenaline as well as cortisol at night with that workout? That very well could be. That would give me the answer. Like, for example, if you didn't work out for 5 days and you were sleeping better, well, okay, we're spiking cortisol and adrenaline at night. We need to rework your schedule. And if not, well, then we need to use Adrenal Soothe, full spectrum magnesium, liquid melatonin before bed to counteract, or I should say at dinner after your workout, and then liquid melatonin before bed to counteract the higher levels of cortisol, right? So we had to buffer an unnatural lifestyle working out before bed with what you have to do to fit it into your schedule. So that's the place to start. And no doubt we'd be able to figure it out because sleep is something we can always figure out. And then if you do one of the labs through equilibriumnutrition.com, comes with my review of it, and it comes with a call and a personalized wellness plan with one of our health coaches. All right, Melissa is up next. Melissa says, "Hi, Dr. Ball. My husband and I love your show. I had surgery about 6 years ago to repair a sports hernia. It's never really felt the same since. I feel a tightness and sometimes strange, sharp pain down there after I do work. My doctor never mentioned to me that I need to do any physical therapy. What exercise stretches would be the most important to gain strength in my abs and core? Are there any that I should avoid? Also, I'm hoping to get pregnant within the next year. Will this surgery create any issues as my stomach expands over time during pregnancy? I've had doctors tell me not to worry about that, but was curious if you agree or had any additional thoughts on that. Really appreciate your insights, Melissa." Melissa, thank you, and I'm so happy to hear you and your husband listen to the show. So here's what it may be. When you have a hernia, they make a small incision. Okay, it says repair a sports hernia. Could have been, there's different types of hernia. There's inguinal, umbilical. I'm not going to go through all the different types of hernias, but they make a small incision, and it is actually very small. But the problem is when they make the incision, usually everything is sewn up correctly. So there's not usually, now this can actually happen though. Like you can actually have the muscles not sewn correctly together, the fibers near the rectus abdominis, but that's not usually it, okay? So what happens though is scar tissue starts to form. So what you can do is you could actually work with a therapist to help break up scar tissue if that's what is the case. And then there would be less pulling by the other gentler muscle fibers than scar tissue. Because although scar tissue is a certain type of fiber, muscle fiber, if it's within the muscles, it's much more calloused. And so you actually want to break that up. I had that happen to me. I tore what's called your brachioradialis muscle. And I tore that when I was in college. And it healed. And then I was left with scar tissue. I mean, about a nickel size of scar tissue. That's a big piece of scar tissue. So I did a little physical therapy for that with the very good team up in Providence, Rhode Island. And then after that, though, insurance ran out. So my girlfriend, who's now my wife at the time, this is post-college now. And we just basically, I put on a little bit of, I'm trying to think of the oil specifically. The oil doesn't matter, but I want to say it was probably like a sesame oil, and just massaged for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes at a time to continue to break up that scar tissue. But you'd be able to actually physically feel it. So see if you can do that. And then in terms of core strength, absolutely we want to work on that. So planks, boats, bridges, engaging the glutes, making sure the psoas muscles are not tight, making sure your hamstrings are not tight, making sure that your glutes are open so you do foam rolling. So I've done many podcasts on this in the past, but also working with a really good either NASM certified personal trainer or a functional range conditioning specialist, or working with a good active release technique practitioner, someone with advanced specialties could certainly help you with this. All right, really good question. And yeah, take care of those before you do get pregnant so that this isn't an issue during pregnancy, which I'm sure that it won't be. But again, make sure that you work with someone locally so you can work on these specific things. All right, Jamie, Jaimi, is up next. Hi there, hoping you can help. I suffer from eczema on my hands on and off for years. It's come back in the last 6 months, predominantly on my ring finger and pinkies. Ran a food intolerance test with my naturopath, hair sample, and found a lot of foods came back as intolerances, such as chicken, avocado, capsicum, chili, garlic, onion, pork, some dairy, lots of grains, mandarins, and more. So I cut all those foods, including gluten and dairy, out for 3 months, but still experienced flare-ups. I also got skin needling done a few months and got a histamine reaction on my face the last couple days. Also tried some magnesium, hot and cold pools this week, and experienced what I think from my research as cold urticaria. It only lasted an hour, but I had hives, welts all over my body. I also been told that I may have low methylation, was put on zinc picolinate and methylfolate, but I'm still suffering from this eczema. My question is there some type of lab I can run to get to the bottom of this and work out my issues? These are my only health concerns, as I'm pretty healthy otherwise. I'm also wanting to purchase your 7-day detox too. Any guidance would be appreciated. Thank you. Jamie, absolutely happy to help. Done a few shows before on eczema. Here's the deal. Okay, so let's walk you through this. Of course, for everyone in the world, I recommend the Big 5 labs. Okay, Big 5 labs, if you can do them, it's the best in the world. You know, I mean, it really is. It will tell you the whole picture of your health from the inside out. So, but I always want to put them in order of importance. So for you, Jamie, what I would like to do is the Candida metabolism and the vitamins test. That's all one lab. The stool test would be next. Then the IgG food sensitivity test, which is a blood drop-based sample. I have never seen a food test run with hair. I don't even know how that would work. And here's why. When you run a hair test sample, so hair tissue mineral analysis is a great lab. There's no doubt about it. We just call it the minerals and metals test. But here's how it works, though. They take your hair, about a tablespoon worth, they burn it, so literally turn it into an ash. Then, from that ash, they're able to calculate how much sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, zinc, copper. It's very straightforward, and how many metals there are. To find out your food sensitivities, you need to find the immunoglobulins. You need immunoglobulin E, M, G, A, whatever immunoglobulin you want to look at, but usually it's always done through blood. People can correct me if I'm wrong, but I eat, sleep, and breathe this. But I'm a fallible person, so please do share that with me. If there's a hair mineral analysis test, and I'm sure after this podcast I'll search myself for food and how that would possibly work. I don't know, but again, I am on this health journey with everyone else, so I certainly want to be enlightened. Okay, so that's what I have. But here's why I would run those labs first. Okay, the reason is this. You may have something called leaky gut or intestinal permeability. So anytime you're eating a lot of, especially protein-based foods, your body is getting these amino acids and proteins into your bloodstream, or it could be bacteria from your gut. And it could be exacerbated an inflammatory response in general because it's flaring up the immune system because you're having foreign bodies enter your bloodstream through that 26 feet or so of intestine. Methylation sure could have some, but don't worry as much about that. And what else can I recommend? Well, I recommend running the labs. And if you can't do the labs, I would do the 7-day detox, just like you talked about, if not 21 days. And then I would do the CBO protocol plus the citricidal drops, plus the CBO finisher, or I would run the labs instead of those to see if you actually need that protocol. So, Jamie, hopefully that helps. Elise is up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Firstly, thanks so much for all you do. I loved IHP Level 1, and I'm working through the Integrative Health Practitioner Level 2 now. I'm so grateful that you have the blueprints, or to have the blueprint for vibrant health, and my own health gets better and better every day in every way on your wellness plan. I love that little mantra you threw in there, Elise. Quick question. Thoughts on lithium orotate? Is it in any of the Equilibrium nutrition products? The author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus sings its praises, says most people are deficient in it, and that it used to be more prevalent in foods and no longer because of soil deficiency. Apparently it's powerful, safe, and inexpensive. As someone on your wellness plan, I'm interested in adding lithium orotate. Well, just so happens, Elise, that I already did a podcast on lithium orotate. And just for those of you who don't know, lithium is used as a prescription drug for a lot of people with certain forms of depression. So let me just look up lithium orotate. Yes, it was on 1332. So I know that you wrote in before that, but we just answered it just a couple weeks ago. So check out episode 1332 for the full review on that. It's not something I recommend using or adding unless you need it. And of course, it has its side effects. I actually, on that podcast, I talked about it. I've only used it once in a very long time. Meaning like once in my entire practice. That's it. So out of all the people that I've ever seen, I've only used it once. That was it. Okay. So it doesn't mean that it may not work for you. It just means that most people won't need it. And while I don't discount someone else's view that it's worked for many people, usually it's not the missing thing, meaning like there's a lot more that goes into depression than just that, or low mood. Okay, one more question today. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I'm a 34-year-old female currently on the CBO protocol, trying to combat bacterial and fungal overgrowth. I recently had blood work done by my general practitioner, and the results showed very low vitamin D and zinc deficiencies. Should I wait to complete the herbal antimicrobial CBO protocol before taking vitamin D or zinc? In other words, will the herbal microbials affect the absorption? Yeah, it's a great question, Aaron. Really great question. And no. So when people run like the starter kit, they run the Candida-based lab, or they run the stool test, which is the bacterial stool-based test, we'll put them on our CBO-based protocol. But that's not the only thing. They're using the DNS-based shake for breakfast. They're using omega-3s. They're using vitamin D. Most adults need 4,000 IUs per day to get between that 50 and 70 range. If they're low on zinc on a hair tissue mineral analysis or the minerals and metals test, we'll give them that. So no, it's totally fine. The CBO protocol is a standalone. It doesn't include a multi. It doesn't include the daily nutritional support, omegas, anything. It's meant to rebalance the gut to a healthy level. So really great question, and I'm glad that you wrote in, Aaron. Thank you, everyone, for writing in today to the Cabral HouseCalls. We'll be back tomorrow answering another 5 to 10 of our community's questions. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing rest of the weekend. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp hearts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.